it's your friendly neighborhood Potato Witch. Welcome to the show. I love explorative games. Walking simulators, if you will. Pretty much ever since I played The Vanishing of Ethan Carter, I've realized these games are absolutely my thing. Wandering through interesting locales, picking up bits of the narrative through clever environmental storytelling and the occasional cutscene maybe. Yep, absolutely my thing. So, In Rays of the Light, which I recently received a complimentary copy of for review, is an upgraded remake of the 2012 game The Light, which I didn't play, so I couldn't tell you how it compares to the original in all honesty. It definitely fits the bill for a walking simulator, which, like I said, is perfectly fine by me, and like many walking simulators, it's fairly quick to play. I finished it in around 2 hours, although that was also with me exploring around a whole lot and examining everything I could find, and occasionally seeing if I could clip through these shrubs to get outside the boundaries. And after those 2 hours, what did I think of the game? Honestly, I was kind of conflicted about it. So, you start the game in the middle of an old Russian university that is definitely abandoned. Nature is reclaiming the place bit by bit, and amid the knocked over cupboards and broken windows, you'll see plants growing all over. Who are you? Who knows? Probably some dude, since you seem to have dude hands, but your identity is a mystery. Or maybe less a mystery and more unimportant. Either way, you wander around the school and solve a few puzzles and put together the clues that tell you exactly what happened here. Where is everyone? Why is the school in ruins? Why does the basement lead to a secret underground bunker? You know, the usual questions you have upon visiting a place. Now, before I go into any negatives about the game, I want to take some time to dwell on its more positive aspects, because when it did something well, it did something well. The graphics might not be absolutely spectacular, but they're definitely good enough to have me looking around at things to see what I can see. The juxtaposition of birdsong and bright green plants right next to, and even inside, ruined buildings is always something I appreciate, and it was cool to explore some of that. And when the game takes a turn for the dark and disturbing, I appreciated the tense atmosphere of wandering through dark tunnels filled with deep shadows and spooky noises. The game really did nail a good atmosphere, I'll give it that. But what really punched me in the gut was some of the imagery. In Rays of the Light is, unsurprisingly, a game that takes place after a place meets its desolation. That's why the university is in ruins. Why you're still there? That's up to interpretation, but as I explored around and progressed through the game, I was hit with some really powerful imagery, stuff that hit hard and just left me sort of reeling. The first one I want to talk about is, okay, picture this. You walk out of your house, it's a nice summer evening. Birds singing in the trees, the smell of greenery everywhere. Peaceful. Twinkling stars come out overhead as the sun sets. Then suddenly, car alarms go off. Panic. You look up and see 3 launched missiles streaking into the sky, heading to some other place. A place filled with people you don't know and who don't know you, but your people have decided to wage war on their people, and there goes the first volley. There go weapons that will destroy and kill, disappearing into the night until they're fainter than the stars. I don't know, maybe it's just because I have a vivid imagination, but that scene really made me feel like the floor had just fallen out from under me. I could all too easily imagine the surreality of that situation, and the sinking feeling of dread over the question, what if they do the same to us? The second thing that got me was, here, let me just show it to you. Now, there's a lot of people who'll see these human-shaped shadows on the walls of the bunker tunnels and think, ghosts! And yeah, they do sort of get ghost-like later on, sure, but you know what my first thought was when I saw them? Those things? Those are shadows in Hiroshima after the nuclear bomb dropped and literally burned shadow onto stone. Or perhaps more accurately, it bleached the surrounding stone but left the shadowed stone untouched, leaving behind a chilling imprint of the person who'd been casting the shadow. That's what the shadows in Rays of the Light reminded me of. Now, I'll grant you, this setting isn't right for nuclear shadows, but that is what it made me think of. The last remnants of people desperately huddle underground for protection before their inevitable doom. It was a sobering thing to walk into that room and see those shadows and be reminded of something so horrific. So yeah, there's some powerful imagery in this game, make no mistake. But it left a lot to be desired. First thing I had a problem with was the walking speed. It's slow. And yeah, there's a run button to speed you up, and that makes things more tolerable, but given that there's never anything you specifically need to run to or from here, no stamina mechanic to keep track of, why not do away with the idea of a run button and just increase the default walking speed? This is something I do not understand why devs put in games, to be completely honest. All it does is make me hold down an extra button while I'm playing. It doesn't add anything. There's no need for 2 separate walking speeds. And when my default speed makes me feel like sloths will overtake me, then yeah, running is what I'll do. Just let me move at that speed by default. Or if you're going to have a run button, give me a reason to use it beyond being annoyingly slow otherwise. Food for thought, I guess. Anyway, my second gripe with the game didn't really hit until well past the halfway mark, once I'd started to get kind of invested in the setting. Walking simulators can be a little backtracky sometimes, with you looking around places and finding items and going, oh, I wonder if I can use that in the place I just came from, and running back to try it. That's kind of just the nature of the beast. You explore and experiment a little, and some games hold your hand less than others. I can deal with that. But there came a certain point where it really hit home that the game wasn't so much not holding my hand as it was deliberately flinging me into a dark room and locking the door and expect me to figure out how to escape. To illustrate, there's one section where I just could not figure out how to progress. The aforementioned tunnels with the shadows on the walls, there was really only a limited space to explore, and I'd explored it and found nothing. I could go back, but going back wouldn't really get me anywhere. I couldn't, for the life of me, figure out what I was supposed to do. I had to look up a walkthrough. You know what the solution was? Walk through the looping tunnels 4 times. Then the environment will change, and the game can progress. Nothing, and I mean nothing, indicated that. Well, okay, I'll be generous. It's distinctly possible that something did indicate that, perhaps in a piece of untranslated graffiti on the walls. But given that I don't read Russian... Another section was essentially a maze, which I also had to look up a walkthrough for because it either looped back on itself if you went the wrong way, or else had sections that looked exactly like other sections, with nothing I could find to indicate how one was supposed to progress. And maybe the dev was going for a feeling of the player getting lost in tunnels just like the character was, but all that leads to for players is getting frustrated over the lack of direction. I'm not saying give me a straight path from beginning to end, but when you give me no real indication whether I'm doing something right or wrong, then that's a problem. This stuff, coupled with some clues to puzzles that might have made perfect sense in Russian but were conveyed to me in kinda wonky English, or some bits where you needed to use a specific item, and the game gives you clues to that, but other places where you need to use the same item and you get no hints at all, or the fact that after the credits roll, the ending screen just sorta sits there. For as long as you'll let it, before you realize you're gonna have to close out the game yourself because it's not even going to go back to the start screen. Yeah, there were some issues. The game isn't bad. I can see what the developer was going for. It comes across very much like a game where someone was really clear on what story they wanted to tell, what message they wanted to give, but were less confident about how to actually do so. When the game leads into environmental storytelling and lets me find clues and pick up the pieces at my own pace, it does really well. When it tries to throw something at me to remind me that I'm playing a video game, it stumbles. It could have been a lot worse. It really could have. But there were some clear problems that I find difficult to believe nobody pointed out before this game was remade and re-released under its new name. At the end of the day, I think it's fair to call In Rays of the Light unpolished, but with plenty of potential. If this was in early access or something, where the dev was clearly still open to making adjustments and tweaks along the way, I'd say it could possibly be a very strong game once it hit final release. And like I said, I can see what they were trying to do here, so it's not like it's a massive failure or anything. It's just not quite what I was hoping it would be, all things considered. Too many gameplay issues to call it enjoyable, but too many fantastic evocative moments to say it's just worthless. Like I said, In Rays of the Light leaves me with really conflicted feelings, and I don't know whether to say it's worth picking up and playing for yourself or not. Maybe it's best to say that it's a game worth watching others play. It does have a low price point on the PlayStation Store, being only $8 US at the time of this review, so if you do want to play it, then it's not exactly a high cost investment. But if you think the gameplay issues will frustrate you as much as they frustrated me, then this is something I think is worth watching other people play so you can experience the game's stronger qualities in some manner. Maybe one of these days I'll stream it so people can do just that, especially now that I know how to get through some of the more obtuse moments without the aid of a guide. Hey, thanks for watching the video all the way to the end, and thanks to Sometimes You for sending me a review code for the game. If you enjoyed the review, please feel free to click the like button to let me know, and don't forget to leave a comment recommending some great walking simulator games I should check out in the future. If you're interested in seeing what other videos I'll be making, go ahead and click subscribe and that little bell doohickey to be notified when a new video goes live. I got plenty of ideas in the works, so there's plenty of content to coming. In the meantime, stay safe, stay healthy, and happy gaming.